Commerce, and I am out here on our beautiful trail system again with Mr. Johnathan Karol. So, Johnathan, thank you. We also have Rochelle. She's our camera lady again. She's doing a great job, so she might chime in. And she's with Keller Williams. But Johnathan, tell us a little bit about yourself and your trail involvement.
So I was born and raised in Whitewood, a little place outside of Sturgis. I went to school in Sturgis. Other than college and about 5 years in San Diego, I've been here. Kind of what got me involved in the trails was around 2012, and there was a race that was being put on, the Black Hills 100. It's a foot race that's put on the Centennial Trail, which is where we're at right now. And I just wanted to volunteer and help out and take pictures at the event, and share them on social media, and like kind of act as a catalyst to kind of share with people out there kind of things to do in the Sturgis area. And then from there, I was like, oh, this is cool. I should probably explore more trails. So I had some friends that kind of got me involved, and initially it was just kind of on the Centennial Trail, and then there's all these offshoot trails that were out here in Fort Meade, and this was 2013. And then flash forward, it's like, hey, we'll just start the Black Hills Trails nonprofit, and we had good leadership. Kevin, which you had interviewed before, Sam Greer, who's also from Whitewood, Ryan Phillips, who is also he put on the Black Hills 100. So it kind of started out that way, and a lot of it was hand-built tools, and with the blessing of the city of Sturgis, we built kind of our first official trail as a trail group, which is the trail that comes from Lions Club Park and connects to Fort Meade. And then from there, in terms of my involvement, just getting out there and volunteering, I guess playing my role as it related to kind of the starting of it. And I'm a media guy, so I like getting pictures, videos, time lapse, all these trail builds, and all that sort of stuff. And then just kind of again playing my role in that regard. And then like the planners, such as Kevin and Sam, they had a really good handle on how do you need to build this, what are the necessary partners that we need to develop. And then so from 2013 until now, really, it was initially kind of the Centennial Trail, and then there's all these other trails which you'll see, like the 7th Cavalry marking on them. We're really kind of some of the trails were already there, some were new, and some were reworked to build into a system and be more organized and user-friendly, and allow people to know where are the trails, make it a system versus all these fragmented pieces. And then it jumped over to the Bonacre Canyon and the Dead Man area for the newest of the systems, which is the Sturgis Trail System. So a lot of the early day stuff was hand-built stuff. A lot of the later stuff was more, with the additional funding of the community, and just various donors that helped speed up the process of building the trail system, and especially the Sturgis Trail System. So.
Right. Yeah, and the Greater Sturgis Foundation gave you guys a ton of money.
Oh yeah.
I remember that was big news, so that was really exciting.
And that was a big check presentation last year.
Yeah. And then you were saying that a lot of volunteers have helped out over the years, and the role has kind of changed. But what are some of the different maintenance projects that you guys work on with volunteers?
So actually, over Mother's Day weekend, last weekend, there was about 8 of us that, and the guy that you interviewed, Kevin, he knows what's going. It's like, hey, we need, and sometimes it's him, sometimes it might be somebody else saying, hey, we need something done. Who wants to kind of help out? And we have this group me thing. It's kind of like one of those group apps that you can join for Black Hills Trails, the Sturgis area, and there's other ways too to kind of get involved. So we raked rocks off of some of those sections of the trail that just needed some light finish work, and there's always you build the trail, and there's always going to be some sort of finish work that's needed, especially in like the early spring, sometimes in the fall, especially prior to an event, or if you kind of had a hard winter where you're getting a bunch of trees down, cleaning off branches off the trail, small things like that. Another thing we were mentioning right before we went live is I have a buddy of mine, Ed Thomas from Sioux Falls. He needed some trail hours, for an event that he was participating in. So we, went out and trimmed a bunch of the branches, like the lower hanging branches that come over the trail, to make it a little bit more user friendly for the various groups, whether it be the horseback riders, the mountain bikers. The runners are a little bit more low maintenance, but in that regard, so some of those things don't impact us as much. But yeah, I mean, there's always stuff to do. Like, probably the best way is connecting to the Black Hills Trails website or the page. Sending a message to the Facebook page is good.
And that's blackhillstrails.org.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, and as we were coming out here, it's a beautiful day, but it's a little drizzly and the trails are a little wet. And you were telling us how important it is to observe good trail etiquette. So tell us a little about that as well.
Yeah. So right now it's you can kind of see some of the water pooling here, and this is probably one of the this section right here gets, when it rains, like, it really saturates fairly quickly. This is where I've seen like plenty of cracks, and it can get confusing. So you're out on a run, and I was actually out on a run earlier today. It was up in the Sturgis area. It was rockier. The water was pooling, so I wasn't making any sort of imprint tracks into the mud, or there wasn't any sort of muddiness. So okay, so that's great. And so some of the trail etiquette is just kind of pay attention to your surroundings and the sort of terrain that you're running on, and checking the weather, and using your best judgment. If you're a horseback rider and you got your horse weighs quite a bit, maybe you'll sink into something that maybe a runner or a mountain biker, someone who's mountain biking or someone who's running, may not. And you may encounter sections of your run, bike, or horseback riding that might be muddy, but then the rest of it is fine. So this is a prime example section. Is this might be soft, but then then you have another 6 miles that's fine to run on, or bike or horseback ride on. So just biggest thing is not to widen the trail, just kind of plow through the mud, and if you keep continually seeing yourself sink in, then it might be a good idea to choose a different path, or hit the road. In this particular situation, we have Old Stone here, and so that's you'll see signs that saying, if wet, do not use trail, all users, and this kind of adds to that too, because that can create some sort of indecision. You want to be able to go out and enjoy the trail, but just kind of think through the different things when you're using the trail. And why it's important is, like, the muddy trail, eventually you get more people doing that. Either they start widening it, or it starts to dip in, and it really just it kind of creates a more cupping within the trail, which water can pool into and damage it, which
making it worse and worse.
Then but luckily you have volunteers that are willing to kind of come out and address some of that too. But that's
Yeah, and Kevin was saying that all of these trails are non-motorized, so there shouldn't be any ATVs or dirt bikes or anything out here. But if people do come out, they can horseback ride, they can hike, they can use bicycles. It's just very case by case, like you were saying, and making sure that if it's a little wetter like this and a little squishier, that you're being more careful, and it depends on location as well. So yeah, good tips. I have one last question before I think we wrap it up. Do you have any favorite trail or trails in the area?
Yeah, so it's I'll kind of give you an idea of I'm going to extend this answer a little bit. like back when we first developed that trail section over at Lions Club Park, that was by far my favorite trail. I'd go running on it, I'd see Bear Butte, partly because, you know, you kind of develop that ownership when you go out and volunteer and help on the trail. And so in terms of favorite trail, you know, that was at the time that. Now it's just kind of like, oh, depending on the weather, it's kind of, oh, this is my favorite spot. Like Fort Meade, by far, is really cool, especially when it's green out like this, to explore. So this would be my favorite, obviously, when it's not wet. You know, when I want to experience, you know, ridiculous views or check out the cliffs, you know, I'll go to Dead Man, and that's by far, in terms of views of Sturgis, panoramic views of Sturgis, Dead Man by far. And plus, they groom it in the wintertime, which, you know, if it solidifies enough for runners, and, you know, and go run up that without any issues. So that's, yeah, and to kind of echo what Kevin mentioned yesterday, they all really are, like, back in 2012-13, it used to be just the Centennial, just, you know, and then these offshoot trails that you kind of had to search for. Now, like, I have some sort of, it's like, oh, which one do I want to go on today? Yeah. And it's a good, I guess it's a good thing to have. So I'm not sure if I answered it. I mean, they kind of all are, but then it's like, oh, maybe I want to check out the city dams today. Yeah. I want to check out that waterfall.
Yeah, there's always something new.
Yeah, so it just depends on the day and the weather and mood, time I have to explore.
Right. Yeah, well, I think that answers it perfectly. So thank you for bringing us out here on such a beautiful spring day, and thank you for answering our questions. And I think that's all we've got.